Boom. Good morning, Banter fam. Happy
Morning,
Tuesday.
morning.
I'll kill the echo. Good morning, Banter fam. Pull up with your morning coffee. It's Tuesday. Banter session's going down. Coach's corner's going down. Pull up with your good vibes, even though it's rainy here.
Yes.
It's a bit stormy outside, but it's okay. We're here to entertain you for half an hour. So pull up with your good vibes. How are we, brothers?
It's wet.
It
But my
is.
grass is growing, so I'm happy.
The birds will be away. The birds won't attack your grass.
Well, they've attacked half of it, so it's like It's like when Canny grows a beard and it's patchy. That's what my grass looks like.
Man, I would love to. I would love to be able to grow like a thick beard, but I just never. I mean, people are just like, just let it. You got to let it grow out. And then it just doesn't happen for me. It's just like, yeah, nah, it doesn't look good. But I wish I could.
Oh, that's funny. I love that you referred to the bird seed in your patch of grass like to Kenny's beard.
My ability to grow a beard. Yeah.
Oh, that is good. How are we, Kenny? How are you, bro?
Yeah, all good, all good. Things are good over here.
Yeah.
It's starting to get cold, and it's getting darker and darker as we're heading towards the end of the year. So I think I'm going into the shit end now, and you guys are coming out of going into the sun. From the looks of it, from what I see on Facebook and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, until today, but yeah, no, it's warm. I think it's like 18 degrees this morning.
It is a
So
bit
it's not
humid,
cold.
but it is stormy, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, pull up everyone. We've got an awesome coach's corner this morning. We're going to be talking nutrition. We're going to be talking. The coach is going to be touching on some movement or all sorts of things. So make sure you pull up with the good vibes. Anything before we go into it, bro? Any announcements due to yesterday's announcement?
No, nothing new, but it is National Coming Out Day.
Nice.
Did you know that? Yeah,
No.
National Coming Out Day.
Did you know? How did you know that?
So how did I know that? So DC Comics, which does Superman and Batman and stuff, has just released a comic, and it's called The Son of Kal-El. So the son of Kal-El is the son of Superman, and he's come out as bisexual. And on the cover, it's him kissing a guy.
Wow, DC's just embracing the community.
Yeah, so hang on, I'll see if I can bring it up.
I've seen heaps of that. I've seen even like they made the Ice Dude game from X-Men.
Wow.
Oh, true.
Like, how do we feel about this? Like, an open question right now. Like, would you still watch it?
Yeah, of course I would.
Interesting.
Yeah, like what's it? The Airbender series. Oh, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like
Last
4
Airbender?
seasons of it. Yes, Last Airbender, but it's like it's about the girl in it. So it's after the Last Airbender. It's the next evolution of it. And there's a cartoon series, and she comes out as gay at the end.
Yeah.
And it's her being, her with the girl. And then in the latest Transformers comic series that have come out, the main character comes out as gay and marries his boyfriend and lives happily ever after. So I think it's becoming more not socially acceptable, but it's what it should have happened 20 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very grateful that my coming out story isn't as traumatic as some. But happy coming out day to everyone. Such a random thing for you to know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah, and then Alex Smith put out like coming out day, and then a few other athletes that I follow have posted some stuff today. I don't know if it's like maybe an American thing or whatever, but yeah.
Nah, awesome.
Okay,
and
Lucy's waiting for Nico
from that. Let's segue from that. Have you seen all the pyramid posts that have been coming through that have been actually awesome?
Some of them are amazing. And then there's Lucy.
Yeah, the chocolate
creative, right? 100 points for Gryffindor for the creativity. There was a solid pyramid of chocolate.
but only one person has seen the hidden Easter egg in the post.
The hidden Easter egg. So do we know about these hidden Easter eggs?
I've hidden one in each of them. You were the first one to find one yesterday.
Wow. Okay. Now you're going to prompt everyone, and they're going to be going back, and they're going to be like, "What is it?"
Go through the post and have a look. But there is I made yesterday's ones a bit more prominent, just because no one's found them. But you're the only one that's picked it up.
Yeah, I won't mention it, but
you won't mention it. But you were good. I was like, oh.
I wonder if anyone notices.
Probably not. But there you go.
Well, it's because we're doing the food pyramid. I think it was a hot topic. We got a good question yesterday regarding it. But do you want to open up on it, Chief? Do you want to open up on the nutrition side and like how we even discuss this topic? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, around nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a. I was trying to think about it, like the best way to explain it. And the best way that I can explain nutrition coming from a coach who does fitness and in around that space is that it's such a personable choice, and all forms of nutrition work, whether you do a keto plan or whatever. I do believe they all work. They all follow the simple principle though of calorie deficit. If you're trying to lose weight, it all follows a simple plan of calorie deficit over movement, right? That's basically the consensus.
Yeah.
And people and people start to point and choose. I always say that as a fitness coach who hasn't studied nutrition as a form of proper study, I don't give out nutrition plans, but I'll help find people a nutrition pattern that they can work to. And we can kind of consult in that. And I find those coaches that, do these 12-week challenges or 8-week challenges, and they give a nutrition guideline and diet plans and whatever, who just bank it off, I kind of guess it and that sort of stuff, probably aren't that reliable.
Yeah.
That's basically my point of view on it. Other than that, there's heaps of it. I think Canny's doing intermittent fasting at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be right.
Yeah. I'm just giving it a go at the moment. It must be just over 2 months now.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. But I'm pretty much the same. I'm pretty much the same as Chief. There's I haven't done any study in nutrition or anything like that. I've only kind of tried things. I've just experimented on myself to see what works and what doesn't work. And man, it's so tricky. There's so much to know about it, and I don't think there's a definite answer for it. In terms of there's no one definite answer that can make you lose weight or whatever it is. I do think that there are a few points that are kind of certainties. I think one of them is what Chief said is calories in versus calories out. That's just a law of that's like a law in physics. It's not just related to your body, but it's related to how energy works in itself. So that's you can count that to be a certainty of something that will definitely work. In terms of what fills up those calories, protein, macros, fats, carbs, all that kind of stuff. I think protein can be a bit more easier for some people to. That's a little bit more certain and definite, but in terms of carbs and fats, that could vary depending on. I think it can vary depending on genetics and stuff. Because I remember there's a podcast that I listened to about, so I can't remember who it was from, but someone was talking about a study that was done back in the 80s, and they found that Westerners are way more sensitive, their genetic makeup is. Or I don't know whether it was developed over years or whatever, but they were way more sensitive to carbohydrates as opposed to Easterners. And so things that's why rice and stuff is such a staple food in Asia, and they don't really get very big. But then Westerners, you get some of them eating. Yeah, so you get some of them that eat carbs, and it just blows them up. So yeah, and it's so hard to you got to look at it as a whole, and because there'll be people who are on ketogenic diets and they say ketogenics keto is what works and and all that. But then you got to take into consideration, like they may just have a genetic makeup that is better, that where their body just uses fat as energy way easier than other people. And then like people like I've tried ketogenic and fuck, I feel like I want to faint every time I train. Like it's just horrible. I did hear of a thing. Actually, one of the guys at the gym said he's heard of a thing called metabolic profiling.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know if I haven't looked into it properly. He told me, he was telling me about it, but it's something like it's like some questionnaire thing that you fill out every now and again, and it's supposed to, depending on what the answers are, it either tells you whether you're fat sensitive, carb sensitive, or maybe a mixture of the two.
So there's like the science of breaking it down. Like you said, like everyone's different, but you can almost find what would work for you. So for example.
Yeah. I think the main thing is just trying to, I don't know, in my eyes, is something that's maintainable. I don't know if that's a word.
Yeah.
But like something that you can, like some people don't like eating a lot of high fat stuff throughout the day. I don't like to. I like having a little bit of carbs. And then others, and others are like us or whatever. They're like snacking on carbs and stuff a little bit more.
Yeah.
They find it harder to eat almonds and nuts and things like that throughout the day.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How would you explain to someone? Because everyone's different. Where they're like, I want to get big, or I want to lose weight. Like those are the generic, like most comments, right? No one says I want to. Like I think now more women are going, I want to eat better to feel better. So now there's science coming out going, don't eat this food because that interferes with your mood swings, and like it's going like more sciencey on that. But like how. I want to know like your basic term of like, or a basic way to just follow a principle. Like, I don't want to be told the restrictions and stuff. I just want to be like, what can you throw at me some good, not recipes, ingredients that we can take from the food pyramid and be like, yeah, those are ticking the boxes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you touch on that? Yeah.
So I'll probably give you 3 points. One is if you're not hungry, a real good point is if you're not hungry, don't eat. So you'll see a lot of people go, oh, you got to have 6 meals a day. But some people go, oh yeah, but by the time I get to the 5th meal, like I'm forcing food down. Well then, unless you're trying to get huge and become like some massive bodybuilder, and I just use that expression loosely, but if you were trying to gain weight, if that's not your goal, then if you're not hungry, then don't eat. And that'll generally help a little bit, right? And that means stay away from snacking and things like that. Other forms is eat as much veggies as possible, right? High in fiber, generally pretty low in calories. It'll fill you up pretty fast, and it's a good source of food, right? If you go back to our olden days and that sort of stuff, veggies are kind of king. And a lot of weight has been put on like protein, and whether it be via meat or a vegan style derivative. But I think a lot of people undersell the importance of vegetables. I, for one, used to. But we make it. You should be made as a staple of your diet and helps you stay fuller for longer. Yeah. And I think a lot of people get too much into this. Sugars are bad, sugars are bad, sugars are bad, sugars are bad. And then they demonize fruit because it has fructose. So fructose and glucose, yes, are the same. Once they go in the body, it all becomes glucose. But there are a lot of added benefits from fruit that aren't in processed sugar type sort of foods. Right? High in vitamins, antioxidants, stuff that will help you move. I'm not saying go out eating 15 pieces of fruit a day, but 1 or 2 pieces of fruit ain't going to break the bank. And those would be my 3.
You, Canny?
Yeah. Touching on, what was your second one? Your second one,
fruit. Veggies.
Veggies. Yeah, veggies. Yeah. I'm going to refer back to this dude again, but like Ryan Fisher, who I talked about last week. he was a big on I kind of only understood things on like a macronutrient level, like proteins, fats, and carbs, and that's it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then I watched one of his videos, and he done like a grocery haul thing, and he was talking about like the ingredients on the back of products, and like I didn't realize how much like how much like micronutrients are important in terms of like you look on the back of things that are seen healthy, but like oils that come from like vegetable oils, canola oil, things like that. They're all like really bad because they create inflammation in your body. And then so like, but like things like olive oil, coconut oil, they're like they don't do that to you. And so just learning like what like all the micros, how important the micronutrients is as more than the macro stuff. Because I think that's all. If you ever see like a bodybuilding nutrition template, it's always to do with the macros, but not the micros, like not the minerals and the vitamins and stuff. And those stuff actually help with your performance more than like. And then if you start thinking in that aspect, like, oh yeah, okay, so if I eat these veggies, then like I think I put it up on a post on the story. Leafy vegetables and beetroot have like a real high source of macronutrients because like what's in you find that stuff in pre-workout. Like so it's not exactly the same, but it's a natural source of it. And like, if you look at it from that perspective, like, oh, okay, so if I do eat my beetroot and my broccoli and my leafy greens and that, I'm going to be able to handle lactic acid a lot better when I train.
Yeah.
When I train. If you think about that, as opposed to just the macro, just like, oh, that's a carb and that's a thing. Because then if you looked at it that way, you would like push the leafy greens and the beetroot and all that to the side because calorie-wise and macronutrient-wise, there's nothing to it.
Yeah.
But then the importance of vegetables, that's kind of what it does. It brings down inflammation and it helps you train better and things like that. And that's when I was like, man, there's way more to that kind of stuff than I realized than just like a little like macro stuff that most people only focus on. So, yeah, but that was a big eye-opener for me when I learned that stuff.
I got a question in the DMs yesterday, and it was like, it'll be cool to hear about a bit about nutrition with Canny, like macros and cheat days. Does it counterbalance the week? Do you track your calories and how much is recommended? So like just go into that like macros and cheat days. What do you do then? You know, you feel like macros on Tuesday, you then deficit by Friday to make up that. Like how do you navigate that?
Oh, I think you need to change the terminology of cheat days. Because what you're doing then is you're giving yourself an out, right? Yeah. It's like it's a cheat day, so I get to do what I want. There's nothing bad. There's nothing bad about having food, right? Like that maybe you get from Macca's and stuff, if it's done sporadically. But if you constantly go, oh, I'm going to have a cheat day and I can't wait for Friday at 4:00 because I'm going to go to Macca's and I'm going to buy $56 worth of whatever and then go home and then gorge on it. Because then what you're doing now is like you're kind of giving yourself instant gratification. This is my personal view. You're giving yourself instant gratification. Yeah, I've just had this. And then about 3 hours later, you feel like shit. And then the next day or for the next 6.5 days, you're now thinking, I've got to be absolutely perfect so I can have this cheat day. So not many people know, but I'm on Black Eye Nutrition, right, which is an American-based sports nutrition thing. So they help me with my diet, but not necessarily helping with my diet, but understanding food and how to examine it better. And they just said, well, if you're going to have a day where you don't want to track, then pick one day that you don't want to track and don't worry about what you eat.
Right.
And I've actually found as a result of doing that, I could call it a cheat day, but I actually don't have any really cheat meals. I had a couple of pieces of pizza. Other than that, I was pretty much perfect in terms of what I would normally eat. I just didn't track it. And I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of something that people should probably start to gravitate towards instead of having, oh, this is my cheat meal or this is my cheat day, because you're just starting to, it's called self-sabotaging. You go into the cyclic effect and it becomes consistently going down a bad path. And you might be great for 3 or 4 weeks. and then boom, you'll be out the back door, and then you won't be following it again. And that's how diets generally end as well, by the way.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Canny?
Yeah, exactly the same. I think what Lucy just said.
Yeah.
I think like the way you word things and the way you say things to yourself helps you makes a bad relationship with food. Like saying that you have a cheat day just, I guess, reinforces the fact in your head that this is something that I shouldn't be eating. You know what I mean? And then it just puts you in a bad mindset. It's like it's just like and then after you eat it, or maybe you eat something on a day that you're not supposed to eat, like maybe you have a cheat meal on a day you're not supposed to have a cheat meal, and you feel bad about it. It's just like
you shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't feel bad about it. I think you just need to be. I think people just need to be aware of of kind of the activity they're doing that day and how they're fueling their body. I think people just need to be more aware of it. So if you do eat it, then you just need to be aware that okay, all right. So the next day,
you're gonna feel like
like the next day, I ate this. So tomorrow I maybe I should focus on eating whatever. I don't know. I just think people need to be a bit more aware about it.
Okay, so then going off that, how do we build a good relationship with food? Do you know? Like, I know there's no exact answer, but what would be your tip to building a good relationship with food? Is it telling yourself is it going, like you just said, being aware that the next day you're going to feel a little bit rubbish, but it's okay, like are those some key components to building those good relationships with food? Like, I feel like everyone also, if you're a bit vulnerable, you'll go, I need to follow this diet exact, and then when you fall off, the guilt's come after it, and the person that gave them that plan never prepped them for that. What would be a good, like, how do you build a good relationship with food besides you love food and you're a big Māori boy that can eat huge amounts,
Yeah, I'd like to be honest. I've just come up with ways that I kind of guidelines that I try and follow. Like I try and have plenty of veggies. I think lately on my story I've been putting up like I've got an air fryer and I just throw a whole bunch of veggies in at the start of the day, and then I just go through that throughout the day. I make sure I eat enough, so I guess part of it is meal prepping, I think things need to be really easy to make, because once you are hungry and you got to spend 30-40 minutes to cook it, you ain't gonna cook it because I'm starving. I've got to wait another 40 minutes before I can eat. I'm just gonna go out and get something.
Yeah.
So I think just being prepared as well is a big thing to try and get you to eat healthy all the time. And then you guys see my stories and you guys know how I eat. Like I eat so much rubbish. When I want to eat rubbish, I eat so much. And so like I don't stress too much of it. But like when I do have a meal like that, like a massive McDonald's meal, then the next day I'm just like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna maybe back off on the carbs a little bit today. I'll maybe just eat most of my food source is probably just gonna be broccoli and all that kind of all those kind of foods, and some lean meats. And I mean, like that one meal ain't gonna change it. I'm just aware of it. I'm aware that I've got like a lot of calories in me at the moment. I've got a lot of carbohydrates. I don't really need it. So eating more. So that's kind of how I think about it. And then I think it just balances itself out.
Hard. Interesting, eh? So interesting.
Yeah, Canny probably touched on the key point. It's preparation for everything. So if you go back to olden days, right, they probably weren't as busy with as opposed to what we are now, because life is so fast paced. Everything is moving constantly. So, back in the 40s, 50s, 30s, etc., even later than that, they could spend 30, 40, 50 minutes getting something ready to eat and then eating it, because they had time to be able to do that. yes, they're probably a lot more manual labor, but then they had a key chunks of time where they didn't have a lot to do, so they could do that and prepare for it. Whereas now we're kind of like, right, I've got to finish work. I'm now going to be stuck in traffic for an hour and a half. I then only really have 23 minutes before I then got to shoot off to a yoga class. So I can quickly cook something then and then during the yoga, actually, I don't really have time. You know what? Instead of going home, I'll just shoot past Subway, jump in and order Subway on my app and pick it up and eat it on my way to yoga, go to yoga and then come back. And then it becomes this, snowballing effect. So prior planning prevents piss poor performance, right? It's a really old analogy, but it works. And then you got to find things that will work for you. Air fryers are a godsend. I don't know how I functioned without one. Right. But now it's just like, you can cut up all your potatoes and your broccoli and your carrots and whatever, throw them in, put some seasoning on it, go cook your steak or whatever in the frying pan next to it, and bang. 5 minutes later, you got a whole meal.
Yeah.
It's just like, how did this not happen before?
Yeah. I reckon an air fryer, like if I'm talking about like appliances, air fryer, and like a really good blender, like a NutriBullet or like a Ninja, whatever you call it, one of those ones. And if I've got those two things, man, I'm set. Like I can make a whole bunch of stuff pretty quickly in like 5 minutes.
Wicked. And because you found all those hacks, eh?
Yeah.
The one thing people got to be aware about is supplementation, and a lot of people take supplements. We all do. You got to be really careful about flavor fatigue, right? With supplements, especially if you're going into the world, or I'm going to have 3 protein shakes a day because it's the only way I can absorb that amount of protein because I can't get it through food. A thing that I've learned is that, well, instead of having the same flavor 3 times a day, it can be a little bit pricey, but what you want to do is you want to try and have 2 or 3 different flavors, and you have one each day. So you might have a vanilla and a chocolate and a strawberry, or do a bit of a mix of them. It just helps with going, oh God, I've got to have my 3rd strawberry protein shake today. It can get a bit sort of cumbersome. So if you have a few different options, it can kind of make it a little bit more palatable. That's kind of what I've found over the last couple of weeks, as I've been going through my sort of little journey. It helps a lot.
Just a thought came to my head. Is it naive to be like, oh, I didn't have that much protein in my meal, I'll have a protein shake? Like, is that cutting a corner, or is that good or bad? Is that like, because like you said, everyone takes supplements and stuff, and then like in my mind, I'm telling myself that that's good, like, because I don't know if, like, when someone says protein to me, I'm like, that's the good source of what's going to be on my plate, right? And if I don't have enough of it on my plate, I can just do that because that will cover that part. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, is that considered as like a thing?
It's a great question. I would say that food is always king. And if you could get all your nutritional values, micro and macronutrients via food, then you should. However, if you feel like you have to go 3/4 food and 1/4 supplementation, then the world won't end that you do that, as long as it's going towards whatever goal set that you're looking at, whatever nutrition pattern that you're aiming for, right? So if you're looking for performance, and a good thing, probably the way Canny and I look at food is that we look at food as a way of performance. We're looking at trying to fuel our bodies so the next day we can operate, as opposed to going to a huge calorie deficit and hating life by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So for us, we look at how can I utilize food and supplementation to get me to the next step. And I supplement. I probably supplement about 1/3 of my day because I just don't get enough through nutrients. Because I'm on, like in terms of calories, I'm on like 3,300, which is quite a lot. Compare it to what a normal average Joe male who's maybe 75 kilos would have, which would be about, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 2,200. It's a lot of food. It's essentially another meal and a half that I'm having on top of what a normal other person would have. So I've got to have it. I've got to have more supplementation. It's just the only way I can get that much fuel into me to get me through the next day.
I do think there's a very big distinct difference between like nutrition for like general health and fitness, and like nutrition for like an athlete as well. Like there's a big difference in terms of athletes. I think need a little bit more supplementation, but also just way more carbohydrates. Whereas I don't think people who do general fitness, who just go and train every day, I actually think that they eat too many carbs. I don't even think they need that many as well as they're eating. Yeah, but yeah, and then also then the supplements.
Interesting. That's actually really cool. I think from this, I've just gauged building a better relationship with food.
Yeah.
The awareness of what you're eating, like you just said, that micronutrient stuff, like the canola oil and stuff, if that's making me feel inflamed, I wouldn't have known that. Do you know what I mean? And I think for me, this just taking from it the difference of what foods and how they contribute to you. Like for me, if I've got a huge output of energy and work, I feel like I'm gonna have a mean feed. Like it's nutritious, but I'm gonna be like double down on the plate size, because in my mind I've put the work, I've exceeded the energy levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to refuel again. Would you consider that like a how you say calories in, calories out?
Mm-hmm.
That's like me doing that, but performance wise, and then fueling that way. Does that make sense? Is that good or bad?
No, it's not bad at all. It's essentially just normal thinking. It's what I think what people gotta understand is the type of activity level that you have, or that should dictate the type of nutrition pattern that you should follow, right? If you're a sedentary type person, then sitting there with a bag of pretzels and eating and munching away, and then going and have something to eat, and then sitting back down at your desk for another 3 hours, 3 cups of coffee later, 3 biscuits, that's probably not the greatest nutrition pattern that you should follow, because your activity level is really low, but you're just fueling. So your gas tank's overflowing, and that's got to go somewhere. So you're going to have another tank, i.e. more body fat, increasing, and it starts to blow out. What a lot of people don't understand is that when they train, right? So that say you do a really hard class with us, right? It goes for 45 minutes. You're going really hard for probably between 25, 26 minutes. All right. They go, oh man, I worked really hard. Well, you're actually still burning calories post workout, and that's where kind of like magic happens in the recovery phase. But when people slam food consistently for the next 3 days because they've worked out so hard, and then they fall back on that one bit of activity they've done, that's where it kind of blows out, and people kind of get a little bit lost in there. My suggestion for a lot of people is, if you really struggle with nutrition, you need to find a nutrition coach that will help you figure out the right pattern for you. And that is an exceptionally hard thing to do, because all nutrition coaches have very different views on it, and you need to find one that will listen to what you do and then be able to point back to you what's the best options. If that's something you want to focus on.
You, Canny, have you got anything to add on to that?
No, not really. Me and they pretty much think the same. I definitely think, and if you are looking for a nutrition coach, make sure that they're maybe into what you're into. So, like if you're an athlete, don't go and see people or whatever. You know what I mean? Because then, be somebody who helps athletes perform, so they don't fatigue or they don't feel dizzy or anything like that throughout the week. They keep them at optimum levels, and then vice versa. If you're wanting to lose weight, then obviously go to somebody who's that way inclined. But yeah, that's all I can say. They pretty much covered it.
Nah, it's been a really informative Coaches Corner banter session. I think you said it before. I like the term building having a good relationship with food, and I think that just changes the whole perception of it. Like that just makes it a whole lot more understanding for yourself. You don't have to put the guilt on yourself if you're having a piece of chocolate, and you feel better about it. I hope everyone has gained a little bit more knowledge or a little bit more awareness from this.
We can speak for hours on this, by the way.
You can. It's such a broad subject as well that you can just go on for hours and hours and hours, right?
Yeah, there's Yeah, I mean, I can talk for ages. I mean, I think that as you were saying, the biggest thing is just making sure that your relationship with food is healthy and you got a good mindset towards nutrition. Like I remember seeing like on TikTok, and you see these videos of these young guys or young girls, and they're like, "What I eat when I shred," and they like, and then they show their like their broccoli and their lettuce and their chicken, and they're like, and then I'm like, if you look at this. This is how the general population should just eat, regardless. This isn't. You shouldn't eat like this because you shred. Shredding, I think. See, and then you're saying shredding, like this is what you should eat if you want to lean out. It's like no, just what you should eat to be healthy.
Yeah,
it's like,
and
it's a
eat to
different
be
way of
healthy is
thinking
a
about
key. Eating to be healthy is a key statement in itself, right? Like
like all of that stuff is just base stuff that everybody should be eating. That would solve a lot of problems. And then obviously, if you want to put on get bigger from there, then you build upon that. But that should be the base of everything.
Interesting.
And the probably my last point is ethnicity plays a huge factor, right? And kind of your upbringing. Pacific Island Māori people, right? We're usually built around eating around large groups of people with family and cooking large groups of food. And you go to your auntie's or your nana's house, and as soon as you walk in, are you hungry? Sit down, you eat. That kind of thing. The Greeks and Italians are very similar to that. So there's a certain amount of historical built ways of doing things that we naturally build into our lives, right? And it's not breaking those cycles, but it's like, as Canny said, using those as a platform to then build from, whether you need to increase or decrease or whatever. And that plays a huge part in, why.
Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry to touch you. I just got a question in my head. Thoughts on then, like, why is healthy food expensive? This is another segment, but I just was like, I just thought of it. Like
the cost of producing it.
Yeah.
It's a simple fact. It's just the cost of producing it, right? It's easy. It's easy to put 50,000 hens in a small 200 square meter building and force feed them steroids for 12 days so they can lay 36 eggs and then kill them and put them off, as opposed to doing grass-fed chickens that are built over time, over 24 months, the cost of feed, housing them, etc. And that's just the real simple terms. The cost of organic produced foods, I think the actual cost of it far exceeds mass-produced quick feed. And unfortunately, that's the case that we are probably going to have to look at. I think Bill Gates talked about, our current sustained model of producing food will not sustain the growth of population over time. So things like organic things, which are nice and in vogue, probably won't be what will happen in the future, because our populations are increasing and demand for food is increasing, but our ability to produce that food starts to diminish as we cull into our resources. So something's got to give somewhere. We can either cull the population, or shall I say it, COVID-19, and then no, I don't. But that's basically it.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame, because it is pretty expensive to eat healthy in New Zealand. Like obviously over here, it's a little bit different, because I think that we're just closer to so many other different countries. So in the UK, so you can kind of like, get stuff in a lot easier and get it cheap and all that kind of stuff. But in New Zealand, and I think that's why maybe what can cause a lot of like obesity stuff over there in New Zealand is because like the cost to eat healthy is really high, as opposed to eating cheaper.
And we send most of our organic stuff overseas. So I think something like 90% of our beef and lamb, chicken exports heads overseas. So we actually import a lot of our meat because it's cheaper.
Mind-blowing.
That's just the nature of the beast, the dollar rules. The dollar rules, man.
That's the way to go. Oh well, it's been an epic Coach's Corner like I said before, we've probably gained so much awareness from this conversation, and it is about having honest conversations with yourself and being aware of what you're eating and what's coming in and what's going out, the energy you put in, and preparation is key from this. So I'm going to round this up for quote of the day. Just open the page, and this is one that it stumbled on. So this is what we got for today, for Tuesday. 271. Give whatever you are doing and whoever you are with the gift of your attention. So whatever you're doing today, make sure you give it your undivided attention.
Cool.
There is. Thanks for jumping on today, bro. Canny. I hope you have a good week, and we will see you next Tuesday for another Coach's Corner. Shout out to everyone that jumped on this morning. If you have any Coach's Corner questions, definitely hit the DM if you want the boys to talk about something relating coaching, anything, how they're so stuck.
How Canny's so scucks.
But no, that's us for Tuesday. Chief and I will be back tomorrow morning with the Banter session, with the good vibes. That is all for Tuesday, fam. Have a good day.
Peace.